lot to talk about today. We're going to have JC here in just a second. We'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. He'll be traveling this week with the Mighty Gators out to Omaha, Nebraska. So if you missed it, the Gators are Super Regional champs. They are heading to their first College World Series since 2018. And what a performance it was. What a tremendous crowd it was. We could talk about that. We'll also talk about Mike Holloway, who wins, I think, his 13th national championship. That was phenomenal. They had to win the last race, and Arkansas had to come in fourth or worse in that last race to win the national title, and they did it. And then he turns around the next night, and his girls come up just a little bit short, and they come on second. Boy, what a job he's done. So let's bring in JC. He's on the Titan More Hotline.
Yeah.
Good morning, JC. How are you?
I'm great. Had a great weekend. Loved it on Saturday. Just a great time. 2.5 hour rain delay, but it didn't spoil anybody's enthusiasm at the old ballpark there in QB. I had a beautiful night on Saturday night. 8,000, 9,000 fans, 17,000 overall. Saw some great listeners and viewers of our podcast. Most notably, yes, I did. I met Nat Blaylock. I met Lauren Meadows. I met Brent English, or Brent, and Big Don was sitting in front of me.
Were you signing autographs? What are you doing?
Well, no, but we just got to meet each other and say hi, and I surely enjoyed those guys and meeting them and talking about the Gators and sports.
Did you buy them a beverage for listening to you jabber every day?
No, they all had one in their hands. I mean, these guys aren't going empty-handed there, bro. But Nat and Lauren were really super nice guys, and so was Don, who sat in front of me there. We had great seats in section 111. Just a spectacular evening. It couldn't have gone better, and what a performance from our guy, Hurston Waldrop.
Let me tell you something.
Unhittable, man. He was something else. He was something.
You know, I'm not Nick Delatorre. I'm not Cardozo. I'm not at every damn ball game. But the baseball games that I have watched since I've been a Gator, that was the most dominant pitching performance I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this too. This was last week. I was talking to someone that is a part of the baseball program, and he told me that Hurston, I always want to call him Thurston. Hurston has the best stuff of any pitcher that's ever played at the University of Florida.
Wow. Well, he had it. He had it Saturday night too. And you know, you get performances like that. Then you know, a week ago we had Cade Fisher keep the season alive, and certainly the other guys that throw. And I just think they've got a real good shot, man. You've got arms like this, live arms that are spread out across the staff, and you can. You know, O'Sullivan has so many options in so many different situations if he needs them. I just gotta love their chances. Now, listen, they're going to be playing this Virginia team that's all of a sudden just turned into a juggernaut offensively. So it's going to be a great matchup between Florida's pitching, Virginia's hitting. Florida also wakes up with the bats from time to time and can ruin your day. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. That side of the bracket is going to be really damn tough. Really tough.
The other side is more difficult on paper than our side.
Think so?
Yeah, they got more seeds. I mean, we have the TCU, who's not even wasn't even a seeded team, and Oral Roberts is on our side, right?
I don't know that.
Our listeners will let us know. The other side on paper is much more difficult. Much more difficult.
Okay.
Joseph says Southern Miss is loaded. They lost Hurston and the South Carolina stud and had a starter from and also had a starter from Southern Miss. They were talking about, everybody listening here, talking about how Condron Ballpark was electric. It was. JC, you know what drives me crazy?
Yeah.
I'm very observant. I see stuff that most people don't see. So obviously I was there for both games. But when you watch the game on TV, when the camera is shooting from center field, when we're pitching, when anybody's pitching, the brick wall behind the catcher says Condron Ballpark.
Yeah.
If you ever notice the spacing on the letters, there's always this big gap between CON
and DRON.
DRON.
That's why.
And that's why you call it Condron?
Yes, I've been noticing. I've noticed that.
It drives me
Well,
nuts.
see, it says it's like that on the scoreboard too,
On the
almost.
scoreboard too. I don't know why it's like that.
Yes, that's why. That's why
It
I've
drives
always,
me nuts.
well, that's why I've always said that. I just said, "Con drawn ball, but hey, go Gators." I listen.
Yeah, it's they got to do something about that because I don't know if it's the Gator font, whatever our font's called,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
between the N and the D, there's this
yeah.
big gap, and it drives me nuts.
Right.
Nuts. I mean,
Well, you know
literally
what?
nuts.
But I will say for the fans sitting behind home plate, I love the way it's structured there as opposed to some of the other schools that have a wall behind home plate and the fans are about 10 feet up. I love it when the fans get to sit on the field level. And I think that's just a better enhanced environment and experience for fans that go to these games because some of these stadiums, look, dude, I saw some of these places that they play at in the Pac 12, specifically Oregon and Stanford. These places are bleachers. They are old, they are small, they got no outfield capacity. I mean, the Pac 12, the Conference of Champions, does not care about sports like this. And last night, the Oregon Ducks, Oregon, after a scintillating comeback on Saturday, or no, it was Friday night against the upstart Golden Eagles of Oral Roberts, fall hard in the third game. And now our conference relies on Stanford. Can the Cardinal get back to Omaha? I really think they have to have representation as the Conference of Champions at the College World Series. This is ridiculous. And listen, I mean, you look at those facilities. My God, I wouldn't go to play there. I mean, it's just high school. This high school. It's like UCLA softball place. I mean, it just looks awful. And then you
Yeah.
see these palaces in the Southeastern Conference. You would think that Phil Knight, who's worth billions and billions and billions of dollars, could get his Ducks a baseball field. My God, throw $60 million down and get them something to play in. It's horrible. But
Yeah, so a lot of our listeners are talking about the spacing on the name. They've noticed
yeah,
that too.
well, contract. Look, man, it's a home field advantage for the Gators. Either way you look at it.
Tony says the game was so intense that he forgot to look for JC.
It's okay, Tony. Yeah, listen, you had things to do. We all had things to do as we were waiting for the start. Lightning was just too close to the area, so we left and went to a place, 5 minutes away and got something to eat, and then came back, and all the skies were clear.
That's the good thing about baseball is if
Yeah.
you do have a long drawn out, you can go somewhere in town
Yeah.
and know you can get back and find somewhere to park and get in the ballpark very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. 8,000 fans. There was enough room for us all to park, and I thought my first experience there was just exactly what I had hoped it would be, and I was really glad to see Waldrop. I mean, he was just spectacular.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was great.
Text on the Titan Mar text line from Darrow says the rain delay was worth the wait Friday night at undrawn ballpark.
Yeah,
He says Wake Forest looks like the team to beat, but at least they are on the other side of the bracket.
9 home runs. It's a record in the NCAA playoffs. 9 home runs yesterday.
Well, hell, we hit 4 the other night. The ball has to be juiced this year.
We have to also recognize Colby. Colby had 3 RBIs, and he was big. 8th hitter. He's at 8th in the lineup, and Colby, he just Halter, right? Colby Halter
He's been here forever.
Well, but he had 3 big.
I think he's still got another year left.
Yeah, and he had 3 big RBIs, accounting for 3 of the 4 runs, driving one down the right field line and getting a sac fly out of the 8 hole. That's what you really hope for if you want to win games that are close.
Joseph says it's crazy how cheap season tickets are for baseball. Do you have to pay more for postseason tickets? No. I was in the booth during one of the rain delays. I lost track between Friday and Saturday. And I was talking to Cardozo, and we were talking about ticket prices. Because usually in the NCAA tournaments, regardless of what it is, those prices are set by the NCAA, but they're not in baseball. Okay. And we were like one of the lowest price tickets in the entire super regionals. Okay. So yeah, you can get in pretty cheap for sure. Joseph says Alumni Hall doesn't have the swinging gator. What the heck? Well, Joseph, if you're looking for, just shoot me an email. We can find you a swinging gator.
Yeah,
JC, you were sporting a swinging gator one of them
you
nights you were there, right?
darn tootin' I was. And folks noticed. Hey, they were noticing. I saw though plenty of guys in section 111, specifically the ones right behind me with the Gator swinging shirt. They're swinging Gator shirts on. I
They
saw.
must be they must be golfers.
Well,
But that's like the hottest item. I can't tell you.
yeah,
Everywhere I go,
yeah.
everybody asks me, "Hey man, where can I get the swinging gator shirt?"
Yeah, well, and that's right. And I'm wearing one of mine to the Utah game in August out there in Salt Lake. Darn right. That's what I want to do. And yeah, man, you win a national championship. Everybody wants a piece of that in some form or fashion. Shirts are the best way to go get it. And why not? I mean, they should sell so many. They could sell 30,000 of those dang things
Easily. And like
yeah.
I was playing with some Gator golf boosters this weekend, and I was telling them when you play at the UF course, sometimes you have to wait a little bit here and there because they'll send a damn one-some walking
Yeah, yeah,
in front of foursomes and stuff. So
yeah.
they were getting my thoughts on the NIL, which everybody listens to this program
Where
knows
they
about my
get
NIL. But what I told them, I said, hey, the way we can help the golfers out is let's give them a percentage of every swinging gator polo sold goes to the University of Florida golf team. So
that's one way to do it. Yep.
Yep. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speak with JC on the Titan Hotline. We have Scott Carter, who he'll be on the team playing going to Omaha this week. We'll find out what time they're going. I think we play Friday. We'll be the first game, I believe, against the Virginia Cavaliers. There was something else I had to bring up about baseball, and I can't remember now. But JC, you and I were on a text with some guys that we play golf and talk sports with. I personally feel like this is Sully's best team he's ever had.
Yeah.
I know they won the national title. I know they've come up short with some really good big leaguers.
Yep.
But as you said, they have. I'm not even going to talk about Kaggs as a pitcher because I think he's still learning how to pitch. But the other two, Sproat and Waldrop, are phenomenal. But this is, in my opinion, the best lineup. And I know statistically they set a bunch of records. I can't remember if it's 5 guys and double-digit home runs. I can't remember. When you sit up in the booth with Cardozo and them, it's baseball. They're talking. It's so much downtime. They're throwing out all these numbers at you.
Yeah.
But I think this is the best team he's ever had.
Well, and in February, or it may have been March, but whenever they played Miami, they won 2 out of 3 in that series here. Something struck me about this team offensively, like you say. And, from 1 to 8, 1 to 9, they're a threat. And I think, maybe 1 to 8. And I certainly think that just gives them so much opportunity, and it really makes it easier on the pitching when you know that you've got guys that can go yard at any minute, and 3-run homers are how you win baseball games. And so I think Florida's in a great spot. I agree with you there. Is LSU on our side?
No, I am about 100% sure it's Gators, Cavaliers, Golden Eagles of Oral Roberts, and TCU on our side.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Because if you got Wake Forest, LSU, or Stanford and Texas oh, man, on that side.
Yes.
Yeah. Now,
one of our loyal listeners that does a lot of research, pop that up so I can confirm that.
But don't they interchange winners and losers brackets?
No, that's only in softball for whatever reason. You stay on your side. And, I have people like, you're going out to Omaha? I'm like, you go to Omaha, you're out there for 2.5 weeks. It's the longest baseball tournament ever.
So our friends who are from Louisiana that go to Mississippi to play golf, you know who they are, with their back roads. They ran ahead back in late March and already booked that second weekend in Omaha, assuming that LSU would get through the winners bracket. And they got 5 nights there, or 4 nights or something. But they already did it back then. But they did it for the second weekend because you're right. Who can spend 14 days? I mean, if you're employed somewhere and you don't have 70,000 hours of paid time off.
I mean, the thing about the good thing about the baseball and softball tournaments is they have that championship series. So if your team gets to the series, then you can decide to go out there.
It's a lot to play. I mean, you got to win 6 games or something like that. I don't know. How many do you have to win? It's 4, 5, 6. But it's a lot. It's a long time. You're there for half a month.
All
If
right,
you're
so
gonna
here
win,
it is.
you're
Yep,
gonna win it.
JC.
All right.
JC.
Okay.
Gators and Cavs play. Then
Yes.
you got Oral Roberts and the Horned Frogs.
There you go. Okay.
Then you'll have the winner of Tennessee Southern Miss will play LSU. The winner of Texas Stanford play the Demon Deacs.
Whew, you're right. There's
So
no doubt.
we have the better side
I
on paper.
definitely agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Although, boy, have you seen TCU hit the ball here recently? Oh,
You know,
God.
what's crazy is I saw a thing on TCU when I was flipping through the channels. I want to say maybe it was in April. They were like 21-20.
Yeah. And
They
Oral
weren't even
Roberts,
sure if they
yeah,
were going to make their tournament.
and ORU went to Stillwater as the 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and won the Stillwater Regional. So that's the Cinderella story for sure.
Well, what time is Southern Miss? You say 6 Eastern time?
Okay, so they're playing Tennessee at 6 o'clock, and then that's followed by Stanford and Texas.
If anybody hasn't watched that series, that super regional, it's gotten nasty. So
yeah,
there's a lot of smack talking going on, not only about the players but the fans as well.
Yeah, and South Carolina tried to get a little chippy there too. I think the catcher, I don't know what his name was, but he had a lot of things to say with Rydell, if I wasn't mistaken. But you're right, South Carolina and Tennessee, man, the guy hits a home run, they do their little thing with a picture, and Tennessee doesn't like that. Although Tennessee forgets for the last 2 years, that's all they've been doing. That's all they do, right? When Tennessee does something good, they're going crazy and showing up and showing their asses. But Southern Miss had them down 4-0 last night in game 2. It was over for the Vols, and they scored an 8 unanswered run. So I'm really pulling for Southern Miss. I want to see Scott Berry get to the College World Series in his last year. Or his last, this is it.
Yeah, text on the Titan Tomorrow text line from Jimmy. Jimmy says, Shane, where does Mike Holloway rank among Gator coaches? I mean, he's the best. I mean, it's not even close. Like I told you, I was in a box.
Yeah.
And it was, 9 o'clock at night. Well, it was like in the 8th inning of game 1 for us.
Yeah.
And we had to win this last race.
Yeah.
And Arkansas had to come in 4th or 5th place. And boy, our guys put it on them.
It was meant to be.
Good gracious. I mean, another back-to-back national championships.
Yeah.
I tell everybody between track and swimming, Florida is so successful, but it's so damn hard to keep up with because a lot of people don't understand it. I learned a lot about the track meet about you can come in 5th and get a few points to help out your team total. So I didn't realize that. So I was learning about my track meets during the baseball game Friday night.
And like these other sports in tennis and gymnastics and golf, you have individual champions and you have team champions. So you can claim 2 national champions, just like J.C. Deacon has just done. Fred Biondi is a national champion. He's going to have that trophy that says national champion for his part of it. And then he's also part of the team championship. So these sports, gymnastics, tennis, all of it, you've got individuals and team titles. And I think you can really rack up a number. That's why Stanford has so many, because they have so many sports that have.
Well, they do rowing and they do silly
polo,
sports.
water polo, and everything. But Florida has so many titles because they're able to field so many teams that enable this kind of thing. And I think it's spectacular for these athletes, because these guys, listen, to Fred Biondi, it's just as big for what he can do at 5'8", 168 pounds, as it is for a 235-pound linebacker who's on a national title team. I mean, it's just as important to them. And they may not get all of these accolades and may not get all these, multi-billion-dollar contracts, but hey, these athletes, I think they say 1% of all the athletes that go on campus end up professional. But these other athletes end up professionals in other things, but they're still just as much a champion as anybody on a football or basketball team who end up signing for millions and millions of dollars.
Yep. Speaking of that, Fred Biondi shot 11 under par in his first professional tournament here on the Corn Territory. Got him I think he came in 31st. I don't know what that how much money that is. We got a text on the Titan Tomorrow text line from George. He says, JC, can we talk about that Alabama Wake Forest baseball super regional?
Well, it was a football scrimmage, and
y'all lost. Wake Forest. Sam Hartman put it on y'all.
Sam thankfully is at Notre Dame now, QB. But yeah, Wake Forest, 9 home runs. You can't get over that. I didn't know they were this
Were you
good.
pitching for them, JC, for the tie?
I didn't know they were this good, the Deacons. I know they were the 1 seed. I get all that, but out of the ACC, you really don't hear much about that team and that school. You hear about Clemson and North Carolina and NC State and Duke, but they were powerful, and you can't get away that 9 home runs are going to win every time.
Yeah.
It's a record.
Tony says Riley Skinner was putting it on y'all. Remember Riley Skinner, the quarterback at Wake Forest?
Riley Skinner, yeah. Well,
all right, JC, let's move on to
I'm just shocked that Alabama even made it through a regional. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Let's move to golf. This week is the U.S. Open out in California, which we're going to get night golf. It's going to be outstanding. The rough is like this deep. I can't wait. But boy, the Canadian Open was fun to watch.
It was like
if people did not see it, you got to Google it. But a Canadian for the first time in 50-something years won their national tournament. He played his tail off, made a 72-foot eagle putt on like the 4th playoff hole to beat Tommy Fleetwood of England. But the great thing about it was, there's probably 4 or 5 well-known Canadians on tour.
Yeah,
they were standing around watching.
Yeah,
on the green side there on 18, and when he made the putt, of course, they all swarmed to congratulate him. They had champagne going, spewing everywhere. Well, this security guard, form tackle at the finest, drives Adam Hadwin into the turf on the 18th green.
Yeah,
luckily, he ain't hurt, but that was hilarious.
Yeah, it's like the guy played for the Toronto Argonauts, man. I mean, he was good. Listen, 69 years, QB, 69 years. And for a Canadian, and it felt like a President's Cup almost, or a mini Ryder Cup environment, because everybody was cheering for Nick Taylor, and they were cheering when Fleetwood hit it in the bunker, or when Fleetwood missed a green or missed a putt even. So Tom had to feel like he was definitely the road team there. And listen, that 18th hole is so fun to watch because it's all risk reward, and you've got about a 260-yard shot in to try to get it up near the green, but the green's protected by so much rough and sand and everything. It's huge. It's a great finishing hole. It was a great event. You're right. Probably the best Canadian. They will not forget that for decades, what Nick Taylor was able to do. And when he hit it, QB, didn't it look like it had a chance halfway there? I mean, it was moving up the hill, and he learned from playing that hole previously about being short. And he wasn't going to be short this time. And so, an eagle to win it, you can't. Poor Tommy Fleetwood. He had a chance. He had a couple chances, but he made a big putt to force the sudden death. And I think the Canadians really have every right to celebrate, because you're right. I mean, you got Mike Weir, you got Hadwin, you've got this kid Nick Taylor, and
Taylor Pendrith. I mean, there's a lot of good Canadians. Corey Connors.
Corey Connors.
So yeah, it was just hilarious, man.
He got tackled. That guy hammered him. He didn't obviously follow much Canadian golf. He didn't know who
no, that's true. I mean, and plus, okay, you would think of being a security guy who is surrounding the green there. Yes. You have seen these guys standing there for the last hour during sudden death playoff.
It was
they have to be a family member, or maybe they are on tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the dude, it was an unbelievable tackle. What concerned me was he drove him into the ground.
Soft green helped him out. It wasn't like playing on the Winnipeg.
Could you imagine if Adam Hadwin like separated his shoulder and would be out of the U.S. Open?
Clavicle, anything. I mean, that would have been awful, but it didn't happen. He's going to play, and this is going to be a great tournament, QB. The rough is already. They're showing pictures on Twitter. We're looking.
It's great. I can't wait.
It's going to be. I don't know what kind of score we're looking at. Maybe 4 or 5 under. Maybe if you're lucky. I think. I don't know about the LA Country Club. They've always played at Riviera when they had that tournament out there in Los Angeles before they came to the Florida Swing. So the LA Country Club's a different place. I'm not sure about this place. Don't know it, but I do know what the USGA is going to do, and we're going to talk about it Friday or Wednesday, I guess Wednesday.
Well, Andy, my research guy Andy says Fred Biondi made $5,960 in that Corn Ferry.
Yeah. Well, he's had a hell of a month. Fred's had a hell of a month. just to be able to get there and cut a check to pay his expenses, I think is a win.
Well, I think he got a pretty good chunk from Callaway as well. JC,
Sure.
let's get to this day in sports, which is brought
Yeah.
to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. This day in sports, let's see. In 2019, the Stanley Cup final. You know who played in the Stanley Cup final 2019, JC?
I do. It was it Colorado?
No.
That was last year, wasn't it?
Well,
Colorado
it's supposedly one of your favorite teams.
Oh, the Lightning.
The Boston Bruins.
Tampa Bay Lightning.
No, the Boston Bruins. Isn't that one of your teams?
Yeah, 2019 they lost to the Blues.
They lost to the Blues. It was the
That's
first
right.
title in franchise history for the St. Louis Blues.
For the St. Louis Blues, yeah, Jordan
Campus
Bennington
USA Credit Union.
I think Bennington was 19 years old as the goalie there, but they had a great team, man. Huge players. Yeah, they beat the Bruins in 7, man. Boston's had some heartbreakers. 7-game loss in basketball, 7-game loss in hockey. The Panthers, by the way, on the brink of elimination. That's what they probably have Vegas right where they want them. And down 3-1 tonight. Good luck with that.
I think it's tomorrow night. I think basketball is tonight.
You're right.
Game
tomorrow.
5 tonight. I think the Nuggets close out.
So what we said, both of us said 4 or 5 games. That's exactly what's happening.
Did you happen to see they did like a little, I think it was at halftime of the Heat game last game. The Heat mascot came out. I don't know the Heat's name, but Conor McGregor was out there trying to sell his new product.
Yeah.
And they were joking around, and he took a swing at the Miami Heat mascot. That was part of the skit, but it knocked the dude out. They had to take him to the hospital.
Oh my God. How do you knock out a mascot in a mascot uniform?
I don't know, but he
possible?
Gave him a left hook. He went down, and then McGregor gave him another shot while he was down.
Crazy. So the mascot gets knocked.
Yeah, you have to look at it. It's all over Twitter.
But I'm still trying to figure this out.
I know. It must have been. I mean, hell, yeah. Art says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. Shane Saturday's game was one of the most electric atmospheres I've ever seen live.
Right. Yeah,
it was great baseball. There's no question about it.
It got going when Halter hit that 2-run double to get it going. 2 runs there, boom, down the right field line. Just man, and then you got Waldrop just throwing darts. It was wonderful. Who do you start? You start Sproat or Waldrop?
What's that?
Against Virginia, do you throw Sproat or Waldrop?
I think he sticks to his normal rotation. I think you go with Sproat, and then the key, like I said, if the Gators could stay in the winners bracket,
oh yeah,
I mean.
They're going to the finals because that just gives them so much time to keep those arms fresh, and you have to burn through them, man. Because the losers bracket means you have to play, I don't know, 3 extra games or something. It's tough, but yeah, the winners bracket is so important to win that first game, dude. So important. Win the first 2 games. You win the first 2 games, you get 3 days off or something.
It's a long process. I think we're playing the 2:00 game. Somebody just texted me wanting to know when we play out. There's 2 games on Friday, and I believe we're going to play Virginia at 2:00. It's not confirmed, but Virginia had to come from behind. They lost game 1 at home to Duke, and then won the next 2.
Then they're
advancing.
Yeah,
they won the national title, I think, like 2015 or something like that.
Right.
But good baseball program. But I like our side of the bracket.
Oh,
we got LSU and Waker on the other side. Leave them over there.
That's right. Those 2 are the teams that would scare me the most, LSU and Wake. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get to Scott Carter anymore. You got anything else, JC?
Well,
somebody here wants your hat, JC. I can't remember. Where'd you get your hat?
This one here?
Yeah, somebody. I have to scroll back through here. Somebody said they want that hat.
Yeah. Shoot. It was a store on Archer Road, and I can't remember what the name of it was.
Oh, that's Alumni Hall.
But no, on Archer Road. And it was
it's called Alumni Hall.
Oh, it is called Alumni Hall? Oh, okay. Well, that must have been where it was, because it was on Archer Road. Bought it about 4 years ago. I'm all about the script UF. That's what I grew up with in the 70s. Love it. That's why I'm always going to be that. But as opposed to the Robo Gator that you love. But I'm a UF. I love the UF. That's it. And, listen, it was great meeting those guys that watch our show and support our podcast here at QB. And they came up to me. I was thrilled to meet Lauren and Nat and everybody. So thanks for watching, you guys. It is well appreciated by Shane and I, and we try to do our best every time we get together. So.
Yeah. All right, JC. We'll
All
talk to
right.
you on Wednesday. You got to start studying your U.S. Open picks.
I'm going to be ready for that. Yes, sir. You bet. This is a
can't
great
wait for
weekend,
that.
man. Gators in the World Series and the U.S. Open. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Father's Day.
I saw something the other day before we go. We're waiting on Scott. I don't remember who. I don't know if it was a conversation or something on Twitter I read. The difference between Mother's Day and Father's Day. Mother's
Yeah.
Day, mom wants to go to brunch, go to church, spend time with all her babies. Whereas dad, he's like, hell with all that. I want to be by myself watching sports or playing golf.
Yeah.
It's so true, though.
Yes, it is so true. That's the one saving grace about June. Your birthday and Father's Day. That's great.
Yes.
All right.
Free golf days. All right, JC. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. That's JC joining us on the Titan More Hotline. When we come back, we'll talk with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. He's got a lot to fill us in on, I'm sure. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Prime and Pearl, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Skechers, F45, and the HBC's restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to go now to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by senior writer for FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Shane. Good morning, man. I'm doing well. Big weekend for the Gators, obviously. So looking forward to see what's next.
Yeah, well, at least as a writer, you're getting to write about a lot of good, positive stuff. But before we get into baseball, because you're getting ready, you probably already started packing because you're going to probably be gone for quite some time. Let's talk about Mike Holloway and this damn track team. They had to win their last race. Arkansas had to finish like fourth or worse, but he goes back to back. I think it's his 13th national title. And then the dang girls just come up short, coming second. I mean, it is remarkable. And I was telling JC, it's so hard to really understand track and follow it, but it's remarkable what he has done.
Well, it really is. It's kind of like what they did this year was similar to last year when you didn't know if they were going to be at their best at the NCAA championships, and yet they were. And I think that's been his signature over the years. It's a sport that, it's got a very ebb and flow to it. They really train and condition for these big events. Then you have the regular season meets where they kind of, just try to accomplish certain tasks. But they really shine when the lights are brightest, and they did it again, as you mentioned. It came down to that 4x400, and the Gators won that, and then the next thing you know, they're national champs in the men's side back to back. And the next day, the women put up a really good showing too, because they hadn't had the best postseason up to that point, but they finished national runner-up to Texas. And we did a big story on their magazine a couple months ago on Mouse, and all those championship trophies and what he's done, and really he just keeps getting better with age. I mean, he's got the premier track and field program in the country right now. And when you look at Florida's overall athletic success in the last 10, 12 years, his fingerprints are all over, I think, about half of those national championship trophies. So you got to tip it to Mike Holloway, the job that he and his staff do, man.
Yeah, I saw his I guess it was afterwards. He was talking to whoever's doing the ESPN sideline or whatever you call it in track. I think it's John Anderson. But he was talking about, like, I don't think they had much. So I don't even know how we did at the SEC tournament or track meet. But he's like, all we care about is the national. We train to get ready for the national championship track meet. And I thought that was interesting, because, you always want to hang the banners and all that kind of stuff. But track's a little bit different because, the training and all that stuff is so strange. But that comment that he made kind of stuck in my mind. I was like, man, that's all this guy cares about. And he is proving that his formula, the way they train, it works.
Yeah, I mean, in that sport, that is the biggest thing that there is, other than the Olympics, and when they get to that level. And we've seen over the years so many Gators, do well on the Olympic stage. So he understands the big picture in track and field. He's been around it now for, the majority of his life. And his backstory is, a guy who just kept plugging away until he finally got his break to become full-time head coach at Florida. And man, he did not waste that opportunity. And I'm like you. I'm just he just continues to amaze me. And he also said, if you saw that clip, which national championship do you remember the most? He says the next one. And that's obvious what he's about. He's about the next one, and he got the last one on Friday night.
Yeah, it's crazy. Rouge Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Speaking of Scott Card on the Titanmore hotline. All right, Gators were just dominant against South Carolina, in my opinion. The game Friday night was phenomenal. It was one of the best college baseball games I've seen in a long, long time. But we got to talk about Hurst and Waldrop. Scott, you're pretty much at every baseball game for the last however many years covering this team. That was the best pitching performance I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was what was at stake with the opponent, the crowd, the setting. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to top that. I remember covering, Jonathan Crawford pitching a no-hitter in the regional against Bethune-Cookman, I think about in 2011 or 12. But, that was a different kind of opponent, and it was only at the regional. This was for a trip to College World Series in front of the biggest crowd ever in the state of Florida for a college baseball game. National TV, and Hurst and Waldrop just went out there, and man, you could just tell early in that game the way he was darting his fastball that South Carolina was going to have trouble with him. And then we all know about, he's got that great changeup and breaking stuff, so he was just able to, change his pitches throughout the game, and South Carolina could truly never get a real beat on him. And it was, yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Sullivan said it after his post game. I mean, that's as good as pitching as we've had around here. And and that's saying something, in Sully's tenure, because they churned out Alex Faedo and Brady Singer and Jackson Kowar and Logan Shore. I mean, they've had some really top shelf pitching in the last 15 years, and Hurston Waldrop certainly belongs in that company now. And really, you look at his 2 starts in the NCAA tournament, Shane, because it really started in that first elimination game last Sunday against UConn when they had the win, and he went out there and struck out 12, struck out 13 on Saturday. I mean, the guy's just been electric lately. So hopefully he'll stay plugged in as they go out to Omaha.
Yeah, our side of the bracket is already set, which on paper it looks like the easier bracket, Scott. You never know, but you got a couple of teams that were unseeded that have made it with Oral Roberts and TCU. We're going to play the first game of the tournament against Virginia. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. They beat Duke,
Okay.
and that was the way the bracket was set up.
Yeah, so there's 2 more teams to be added. They'll be added today, so we'll see. When is the team leaving, Scott?
I'm going to guess either Tuesday or early Wednesday. I mean, usually it's early in the week. You get out there, you have a day at the ballpark on the first day out there to get adjusted and do some media with the local folks and that kind of stuff. And then, it's one of those events unlike any that I've really ever covered, because you go to Omaha and you end up winning it, Shane. You're out there for about 2 weeks, and with pitching and baseball, obviously there's a couple of breaks while you're out there for a day or two to where the pitching can line up for future games. But it's a great event. I tell everybody who's never been, try to get out there at least once, because it's just a special environment. The city really rallies around the event. The stadium's great, and I'm sure they've even done a lot more things since we were out there around the ballpark, because it's been 5 years since the Gators are there. So looking forward to it, but they definitely earned their way with an impressive victory, I thought, over South Carolina. As you said, that Friday night game was a classic, and then Hurston Waldrop turned in a classic performance on Saturday.
Yes, indeed. Joseph says on Facebook Live, after that leadoff home run for South Carolina Friday night, how many other Gator fans said, "Oh boy, hey, that's baseball." They came out swinging, and yeah. Well, Sproat didn't have a great first inning, but he battled. I wanted to ask you, because Sully protects the pitchers, pitch count, all that kind of stuff. Did you see? I want to say it was Stanford's pitcher last night threw 153 pitches.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it specifically, but you'll see a game like that, especially in the postseason, where there might be a team who only has a couple of studs. So, I think Sully's done a great job over the years with that, because he usually is dealing with a lot of potential first, second round major league draft picks. You'll still see a game like Stanford, 153 pitches once in a while. Some of these guys, maybe they know that they're done after this college season's over, so they're going to leave it all out there. But certainly Sully does not do that. And, I mean, Hurston Waldrop, I think he threw 117 on Saturday because he was just so locked in. That's about the most I can ever remember a Gator pitcher throwing since I've been around. So, it's the way the game's changed. And you remember in the Nolan Ryan, he'd go out there and throw 150 and drink a couple of beers after the game and then go home and, do some work.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt about it. Ace has a question for you here, brought to you by Melvin Law. I do have one question. Why was the center field and the second baseman not in sync in both those games with drop fly balls?
I mean, I don't think there's anything about not being in sync. I just think there were a couple of plays, where the ball got up in the sky. Even Wyatt Langford, the Friday night game, lost the ball up there. We saw that in the previous regional too. So I think with just some of the weather and the delays and how the sky changes that time of day probably had a factor. The wind wasn't as big of a factor this weekend, obviously, as the regional, but I don't see. I mean, it wasn't something that solely harped on or was asked about. It happens, man. I mean, the ball Like you get a ball high enough, if you play baseball, where you think the ball is going to land when it's at its peak, it often is several feet away by the time you catch it or have a chance. So it's just sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it was Friday night. I think it was in the first inning when Langford couldn't find that ball. I actually
Yep.
took a box. I was in there, a picture. I was in the box with Sean and Jeff. I lost the ball because the sky was this pinkish, orangish color,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I had no idea where the ball was when it was hit either. So it was a weird sky on Friday night, especially. Scott, we got a couple of questions here on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. This is from James. He says, Scott, do you have any information on the recruiting weekend of Florida football?
I'm not gonna say I was pretty busy with baseball, Shane. I mean, I saw some of the names that came through. You see the reports that maybe they're going to have some commitments from the class. I mean, I'm a kind of a wait until I see it to believe it follower of the recruiting world. I know a lot of what's going on, not at Florida, but just in the industry right now. That game has changed so much. I mean, they're going to have to really get their arms back around the recruiting world, because now kids are, I mean, they're negotiating or trying to before they even take official visits. I mean, it's just really at a bad place. But yeah, I know Billy Napier. He's got a lot of people coming in, has a lot of people interested in the program. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I don't have any real insight into who they're getting or who they're not. Like I said, until they sign, Shane, that's just my take on recruiting, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Scott, another text here on the Titan Tomorrow text line from Sarah chiming in here. Sarah wants to know, Scott, who concerns you with the teams that are already going to Omaha?
Well, I always look at whenever you have a team like Wake Forest that is offensively as they are, it's going to be interesting to see that matchup, because Florida is in Omaha right now because of outstanding pitching in the NCAA tournament so far. I mean, they're starting pitching and the relievers. I mean, they're putting up really impressive numbers. So you have that dynamic pitching versus offense. Wake Forest plays in a smaller ballpark, and they have a lot of power numbers that catch people's eyes. But it would be a very interesting matchup if Florida and Wake Forest came down to meet for the title, because it's going to be portrayed as the classic pitching versus slugging lineup. And those are always fun to see how they turn out. Once you get to Omaha, any of those teams out there are dangerous. I mean, look at what Oral Roberts did against Oregon. I mean, they went on a walk-off on Saturday, and they ended up winning yesterday. So I think they're all dangerous. We've seen Florida go out there several times under Sully, and TCU. They played them before out there. They played Virginia before out there. There's a lot of familiarity in the programs, but not so much on specific teams. So, but the one that Oral Roberts does kind of just scare me. They're rolling. They're one of those teams that when they get going, you just never know. But I think the classic matchup would be Florida Wake Forest.
That would be fun for sure. All right, Scott, a couple more questions before we get you out of here. Regarding Omaha, I'm sure you've been there, Scott Carter. That you see it all over Twitter, and they talk about it when the tournament starts out there. That bar, they like keep a tally of which schools or teams take the most shots, or is it Jello shots? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I have seen that before. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head here, but yeah, they do. They do have a contest out there, and I don't know if Florida has ever won that in my trips out there, but maybe the year won the national title, maybe that was the year they won it. But I mean, Omaha has a lot of stuff like that that's just built around the tournament, built around this event. And the Jello shots is certainly one that gets a lot of attention because fans tend to like Jello shots.
Yeah, for sure. All right, last question. We'll get you out of here. It's from Andy on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel. He says, Scott, should we be concerned that running back Chauncey Bowens flipped to the Dogs?
It was one of those. I'm sure they would prefer that not happen, but I don't really know. I'm a big believer that if you got a guy who is committed to you and he flips, well, you're probably better off in the long run because he obviously didn't want to be here in the first place. So he's a talented player. I don't know down the road what kind of a college running back he is, but I think there's at that position, Shane, as you know, you can find a lot of good running backs that can be productive in the college game. I mean, look at what the Gators have now. Montrell Johnson Jr., a transfer from Louisiana, a really good back. Trevor Etienne through the recruiting cycle. They've got Cam Carroll back there. So they're going to be fine this year. And I'm sure Billy Napier and his staff will work to, get another one of those guys. So I just don't get into losing recruits as much as a lot of fans, and because I just figure, well, they didn't want to be here anyway.
Yeah, just got a text on the Titan Mark text line from Carmen. Carmen says Ole Miss won the Jello shots by a mile when they were out there, for sure. There's no doubt. Scott, we appreciate your time, my man. We'll have to talk to you when you're out there roaming the streets. Take your golf clubs because you're going to have some downtime, my man.
Yeah, I'm going to play some golf. Drink a lot of Jello shots. It should be fun.
All right, that's Scott Carter. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take a quick time out, come back and wrap up this Monday edition. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System studio. Be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Campus USA Credit Union. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System studios. Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. I want to thank JC and Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com for joining our program. And real quick, Andy says, shame for us non-golfers. Why was Fleetwood not assessed a penalty when his ball went to the grandstand? It's a man-made object, so anytime that happens, you get a free drop. Good question, Andy. Normally, when you play golf, there's not structures, stands and stuff, so he automatically gets a free drop. Tonight, NBA Finals, Nuggets and Heat. We'll recap it tomorrow. Hope everybody enjoyed today's program. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Once again, congratulations to Kevin O'Sullivan and the Gators heading to Omaha, and Mike Holloway on another national championship. Have a great day, folks. Take care. See you tomorrow.